but to go from that, something that we didn't really see, to something that I'm pretty sure, like me, you were glued to the TV when this came down, the verdict, right? So we are talking about the Chauvin case verdict, which of course it was the police officer who murdered, because it's been legally defined as murder. He murdered George Floyd, by having his knee on his neck for almost 10 minutes.
Yep.
I believe it was 9 minutes and 50.
Well, according to the Dave Chappelle stand-up, it was 8 minutes and 46 seconds.
Okay.
Yeah. That's what he named the stand-up.
Yeah, but there was more than it was actually. Turns out, I think the coroner himself said no, it was more than that. It was 11 minutes, or the prosecutor did. So, anyways, we were glued to our TVs. I think I was. I don't have cable, but I was able to find, like, on my TV, because I have a smart TV. They have the news ones all the time, so I popped that one on, listened to the verdict. There was a lot of nervousness, which is sad. That there was a lot of nervousness that it wasn't going to come back as a guilty verdict when we literally saw the murder happen on camera.
Yeah.
And it's really disappointing, and I think it's still a testament to where this country is, that's a possibility that we literally could see somebody get murdered on television, and we have to have $1 million court case, and there was a possibility that it wasn't going to go down the way it should go down.
Yeah.
So obviously both of our reactions are a positive note, right? But how, it's not enough though, right?
I think to answer that, let me recap my day watching that, right? So I had seen on Facebook that I think a trade might have been made, because it looks like the Eagles are next. I don't think they're supposed to be next.
They're not.
Yeah.
Cowboys are.
No, not saying Eagles are next. So
Go ahead, come on.
Yeah.
Talk about this.
sorry, guys. Sorry, we've been. Yeah, the Eagles got a pick from Dallas. So my day, I saw it on Facebook that the verdict was coming down at a certain time. I forget what the time was, but I made sure, okay, look, let me get through my meetings and come downstairs and watch it on that TV. You guys can see if you're watching this on YouTube. So I came down, I like perched up. I even put the blanket on just because I was like, I don't know how I'm gonna react, and I was like just there with like bated breath. And the prosecutor, the judge came out and like read the charges and read guilty on like all of those counts. And my instant reaction was just like an exhale, right? Just like relief. And Zeus mentioned that there were a lot of people who were like nervous at that time, but it was like nervousness for so many different reasons. There were a lot of us that were worried that yet another one of these cops is gonna get away with this. There were a lot of there was a stupid reaction I saw on Fox News. Greg Gutfeld talking about, I'm so relieved because if this had gone the other way, like my neighborhood would have been looted, or some.
Ain't nobody going to his damn.
It's like I was like, I've been looted before. You don't know how that feels.
You haven't.
So stupid, right? So there were those reactions, but then my mom called me about 5 minutes later, and she said, she said congratulations, like.
Yeah, I remember you telling me about that.
Yeah, she said congratulations. I was like, about what? She was like, about the verdict. And I was like thanks. but I was also like, I don't know. It's not like I didn't feel like joy. Like when your team wins a game and you're jumping, you're like clapping hands or whatever. This wasn't that. I didn't feel that at all.
Still died, man.
Yeah, exactly. My immediate feeling was like, now this guy's family hopefully gets some justice, some sort of solace that their son, their brother, their father died, but someone is paying for it, right? but to be happy about it, that was just not something I could muster up in that moment.
So I don't believe in conspiracy theories. I really don't. I'm not a truther. You'll never hear me talk about conspiracy theories like that. You'll never hear me talk about 9/11 being an inside job, stuff like that, right? I will give reasons as to why I don't think that. For example, I don't think 9/11 was an inside job, but I definitely do think that the president at that time and the leaders in charge not let it happen, but it happened on their watch when they could have prevented it, right? So there's things like that, but I don't think it was an inside job. I just feel, for some reason, I sense this one was given as a way to cool the anger that has been simmering and that continues to simmer.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm not saying that they were paid off, the jury. I'm not saying that the jury was corrupted or anything, but I just feel like there was some, for the lack of a better term, divine intervention that was involved to get them to do the guilty verdict because they need to call anger. Whether it's how the court was handled, I don't think. Again, I'm not thinking that anybody like told them straight out to do it, but you know what I'm saying. Like there just seems to be some type of intervention.
But the idea that we would even need divine intervention for this, when it was on video, clear as day, and we were still like, oh, I hope God touches the jury's hearts to let them see that this is murder. Clear as day. Like,
and I'm saying lack of divine intervention because I don't necessarily mean it's spiritual. I just mean it's just it just, you know, the other cops threw him under the bus because one, you're just as culpable because you were there, but you know, they threw him under the bus to kind of be like, hey, let's save face, and that way maybe people won't hate us as much as it's just further proof. This whole entire thing was further proof that the United States is becoming a failed state. Like, I don't know if there's any other country that this kind of stuff would happen that considers themselves to be completely democratic or completely justified country that they that this kind of thing would happen. You know, that there's a possibility that they could have been that he could have probably come off. You know.
Yeah.
So
okay. Well, with the number 10 pick in the
speaking
NFL,
of coming off, what came out of the top 10 pick?
Yeah, with the number 10 pick, the Eagles get Devontae Smith, Heisman Trophy winner, wide receiver from Alabama.
Wow, Justin Fields fell out of the top 10.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Oh, wow. I didn't even think about that. Wow.
All right. Yeah. So, to go back into that, I might have to ask Zeno to turn off that television just because there's two things that happened right after this court case, right? Mm-hmm. One of them was something that I said was cringe, and you were just like, no, that's not even cringe. That's just horrible. And there's another one that is horrible, but I think it's a discussion that's worth having, which is with, I'd rather end with the cringe part, just because the cringe part is gonna involve a little bit of mocking, I think. So let's go with the other part, which is like which I think it was just a terrible irony, which is right when the Chauvin case the verdict was coming down. Another police officer killed a girl. Did you ever get to see that video?
I did.
Do you? So what ended up happening is right when the Chauvin verdict was coming down, a girl was killed by a police officer, and obviously there was quick outrage. But looking at the video, I just put myself in the shoes of the parent of the other girl, which there was another girl that was involved, right? That looked like she was about to get stabbed, and even though I don't know if I would have been okay or not traumatized with the fact that deadly force was used, but if I was the father of the girl in pink, I would say that cop actually saved my daughter's life.
Yeah.
Which, because I told one of my old teachers who was discussing it on Facebook, and his brother actually, I think it was, that was actually telling him, was like, look, this case isn't as black and white as it's as we might want it to be. There was a lot of circumstances involved that it was a split-second decision for this police officer, which is just, it's an unfortunate situation more than anything, right? And it's kind of like, that was my reaction too after looking at that video. I was like, I'm not gonna call a cop a hero. He still killed a kid. I mean, he was still put in a situation, but really, should we be calling cops heroes when they have to kill somebody? You know what I mean? Like, should we? Like, it's just because it still involves the death, and in this case, it involved the death of a 16-year-old girl who there's a possibility she was getting bullied at her own house or something along those lines, and she just had enough, and it was just that a cop happened to be there when she was about to possibly do this one thing, right?
Yeah. Well, apparently she was the one that called the cops because
yeah,
she
I
was
know,
getting bullied. Yeah.
and that's the tragic part, right? And it was just one of those things, like maybe she had enough, because what you see is the cops video comes out, and this is why I kind of knew that the cop and the police department knew that they weren't in the wrong, or they knew that, hey, this wasn't
as bad as the other ones.
Yeah, this was a quote justified killing, is because they released the video right away. Like the video got released, I think the day of, no, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah,
and it was just one of those things where you're like, all right, these guys know that, look, this looks bad. People are not gonna like it, but this is why it happened, and this is a reasonable reason as to why it happened, right? So it was kind of tragic. I think it was terrible irony that it happened to happen when the verdict was going on. But do you feel that there should be the same outrage for this, or do you kind of be like, no, it was like, at the end of the day, sometimes cops have to do horrible decisions, but sometimes in the situation, it's the necessary decision. I'm trying to prevent myself from saying words like right, correct, justified, stuff like that. You know what I mean? Right. But like, it just makes sense during the circumstances.
Yeah. So I saw the video, and it's not the same situation as the countless others we've seen. It wasn't like the George Floyd thing,
or the kid, the 13-year-old boy.
Yeah, the one in Chicago. It wasn't like that. It wasn't like any of those, because there was a person wielding a deadly weapon at someone else. Right, that knife. If she stabs that person the wrong way, the other person could bleed out and die. Right, so deadly force was used in order to potentially save someone else's life. That being said, right, so the question is, should there be the same amount of outrage? No, right, because this isn't an unarmed person that was killed. That's the whole thing we've been talking about: unarmed Black people being killed. This wasn't an unarmed Black person being killed. However, I think and it's a little hard for me to talk about this because I am not a police officer. I'm not put in a situation where I have to face life or death decisions every day, or some days. It's not every day, but where you might come across a situation where you have to face life or death. But I just feel like, is there no way this could have been handled without
the force,
without someone? No, not even without the force. Without someone dying. Like, is there some sort of force that isn't deadly force? Like, why is the training always going down to, hey, if you're not sure, just murk them and we'll write it up later? Like, I don't know. It's like, it's like American mentality. It's like, I don't get it.
Yeah, I get what you're saying, because I'm like, at the same time, I'm just like, look, I get it. The whole going towards shooting them in the leg is a myth. Right? Can we start practicing that?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, can we start practicing shooting that person in the leg?
Did he shoot in the air to see if that would, jolt her?
Well, the thing is, shooting in the air is also very dangerous too, because remember, what goes up comes down, and you could easily
but you're shooting four in somebody. And that's the thing. It was four.
But that's controlled. I think with the difference between that is one of them is controlled and one of them is not. I think. I know he doesn't want to. I don't know if he really wants to talk about more police stuff, but I think your friend Dane maybe we could just have this discussion with him.
Yeah, maybe, but I don't know. I felt like, why? Because I think in the video he like yelled something for her to like stop or whatever.
No, I don't think so. I think he yelled, "Get down, get down, get down" to the other people. And then the thing is, though, I was so amazed because you see, like, so did the video that you had kind of like, you only hear the gunshots, you don't see the rest of it?
Yeah, you don't see the rest of it. Yeah.
I was amazed, but the thing is, though, I was actually amazed at the accuracy, because that girl in pink was like literally right behind that girl.
Mm.
And even if she moved fast enough, if there's been somebody else randomly, there's a possibility that they could have shot that. You know what I mean? Like if it's somebody
Yeah.
like some cop wannabe who just shoots at and then like all over the place and end up killing. So obviously that accuracy is trained. So why can't we do that accuracy, in
Right.
other
For like,
areas?
yeah.
In the
I don't know,
leg,
man.
maybe.
I just I get the whole idea that yes, the little girl's life was in danger. My whole issue is, must it be a fatal shot every time? So and I saw a tweet which I think is a little unfair, but it said in 2021, let's start treating black women with knives the same way we treat white men with guns. Like basically, like we're not. Oh, Justin Fields to Chicago.
Okay.
So basically, we're able to take in and de-escalate situations with white gunmen. Why is it that a black girl with a knife has to die? It's a bit of an unfair tweet because it wasn't like she was just holding a knife. She was holding a knife and lunging at someone.
Yeah.
But I mean, why does it have to be deadly force? That's my only thing. And
I think the thing is that we have a really good example with the young man in Chicago, a 13-year-old boy. Literally, remember, what's the first thing that they say when these guys get killed? Oh, if they had just complied.
Yeah, right. Mm-hmm.
Literally, the kid complied. Threw his gun. And by the way, I'm gonna purposely call him a kid because apparently when it's a person of color, a 13-year-old is seen as a grown ass man at the time. Is as dangerous as a grown. No, he's a kid. He's a 13-year-old kid. Literally was running away from the cop. The cop tells him, put your hands up and turn around. So they say he had a gun and he threw it away. So that means it's not in his hands. You literally see him turn around. 1 second after turning around, you hear the gunshots, him getting shot. This kid has his hands up in the air and you're shooting him in the chest. That's execution. That's an execution. That's not a justified killing at all.
And I've been seeing, sorry, I was just gonna say, I've been seeing disgusting comments about it, like, well, what was he doing out at night? He was probably gang affiliated. He was probably none of what you guys are saying is justification for someone to be murdered.
All it is, whenever something like that is said, all it is them just what's it called? They decide that they're going to what do they call it? Move the post. Moving the
goalposts.
Moving the goalposts. That's all you're doing. Because you said comply, this kid complied, hands were up, he gets killed. Well, why was he out at night? When someone wasn't out at night, they were sleeping in their bed. They're killed. Breonna Taylor. So it's just like,
well, why was she snoring loudly? Why was it, like it's always something, right? Like, how about just acknowledge that some of these are actually pretty crappy. Like for them to acknowledge that would be for them to acknowledge that this country isn't perfect. This country has a lot of things that need to be fixed.
Yeah.
Law enforcement is a big part of that. But they would much rather have rose-tinted glasses than to realize that their fellow Americans are in pain. They're asking for you to listen. We need something done. And they're like, no, I'd rather believe that the blue is always right. I back the blue. But you don't back them when people are storming the Capitol and
one of them gets murdered.
Police are being killed. You don't back them there. But yeah,
do you feel that there's a big alignment between backing the blue and the whole cop loving idea that the Second Amendment brings about? For some reason I just feel like those are kind of the same philosophy is somewhere in there where they're like, we gotta back the blue because these are the good guys that are supposed to have guns, right? But yet you're talking about a lot of them it's just so hypocritical because you back the blue, you back the government, whatever, right? But then you don't want to take a COVID shot because the government can't be trusted.
Right.
But you trust them to execute the right people the right way. It's ridiculous.
There's a lot of hypocrisy on that side of the aisle. I'm not going to sugarcoat it. There's a lot of hypocrisy on the right. Anyway.
And you could say it's kind of stupid. And speaking of stupidity, let's move over to the cringeworthy thing. Mm-hmm. So I sent a video or a tweet to Zeno. and I was like, man, this is this is cringy AF. Um, and it was basically Nancy Pelosi doing, I guess, a speech after the verdict.
Yeah.
And it's just the most awkward start off where she says, "Thank you, George Floyd, for sacrificing your life for justice," or something along those lines.
Yeah. So the first thing I want to talk about with that is, why is Nancy Pelosi making a speech about this? Why is any politician making a speech about this? The George Floyd thing isn't about politics. But then when you have politicians going out there making speeches about this, it becomes about politics. That's what we've been trying to say. Like, it's kind of like the mask thing, to be honest. Like, this is about health. This is about public health. It shouldn't be about politics, but then people want to co-opt it for politics. And to the credit of Republicans, I didn't see any Republican congressman or senator come out and say, "Hey, I think this verdict is a little strict," or "this verdict I don't know." I didn't see any of that. But for some reason, Nancy Pelosi decided, let me go out there and make this about politics and say that this is a victory for justice. Thank you for giving your life for George Floyd didn't want to die. You think he said, okay, let me die May 2020 so that we can advance the cause of justice? No, he didn't. It wasn't only cynical from the point of like trying to make this political, but it was also supremely tone deaf and actually kind of callous to suggest that, okay, yes, let's put Black bodies on the path to the promised land. Thank you for sacrificing yourself so we can get there. I mean, I don't know who told her that was a good idea, or I don't know who she ran this by and they didn't say, hey, maybe don't do that. But whoever's in the inner circle, all of them need to be fired. You said it was cringe. I thought it was a terrible thing to do completely. Yeah. I don't know why she went ahead and did that.
And I hate that she came back. I hate when people do this. She came back instead of saying, you know what, in hindsight, that was probably a tone deaf thing for me to say. I apologize.
Poor choice of words.
Your poor choice of words. But I still hope to use this, this most recent event to help us fight for, you know what I mean? Like, yeah, we get it. You're gonna be like, look, we're not gonna let his death be in vain. That we can understand. But to say that he sacrificed his life, no, he didn't. He didn't sacrifice his life. He was murdered. He was crucified. Yeah. Okay. So it's not the same thing, guys. He's not freaking Jesus Gethsemane saying, I'm going to go ahead and do it. Yeah, he's not. I'm going to take this L for you guys. No, it's not the case. So it was cringy. To me, it was cringy as hell, but you see how it was kind of disgusting. I just don't agree with the fact that she came back and said, you know what, let's I'm not going anywhere. Because she said something along those lines. And I'm just like, dude, just take your L and just keep it moving. You know, you're still popular in, liberal ass California.
San Francisco,
so you'll be all right. But anyways, wanted to kind of end it on the draft because I guess we kind of did. Because right behind, what's going on?
I don't know. Did another pick come in? I think so.
Micah Parsons?
Yeah, Micah Parsons, interior linebacker from Penn State. He went to what team? Oh, to the Cowboys. So the Cowboys took one of the picks that the Eagles got from. I don't remember who the Eagles got the pick from Miami. So which is the number 12 pick, and then gave their 10 pick to.
All right. So actually, I'm glad we're going to end this on this. Have you ever seen that before? An interdivision trade? I've never seen that in a draft.
Yeah, I haven't. I mean, then again, I haven't been watching that long. It's been like 15 years maybe, but
I know a lot of people were
talking
about. Yeah, where people were talking about, I was like, do you think Carolina would trade with us?
Yeah.
And I was like, you never see interdivisional, but look at the NFC. The NFC least is always first.
Right. But look, I'm a little shocked because the Panthers had a chance at Fields all the way back at what were they, 8th?
8th, yeah.
Yeah, and they didn't take him. So because I was like, oh, if the Panthers move up, then they're gonna take this guy. So it wasn't even a matter of moving up. They still didn't take him. Wow.
I'm gonna tell you right now, Justin Fields being in Chicago instantly makes these guys a much better team.
Yeah.
Because they've always had their defense, but they've lacked offense.
Well, imagine
Just hope that their kicker is okay in the playoffs, unlike last time.
Well, imagine if Rodgers actually doesn't go back to the Packers like it's being reported, and then Detroit, they have Goff. Maybe Goff isn't going to be that great. All of a sudden, maybe the best quarterback in the NFC North is now Justin Fields.
They're saying Rodgers isn't going to Green Bay.
Yeah, apparently Rodgers has been telling a lot of people within the Packers organization that he's not coming back to 2021.
Hey, Rodgers, you're great, man, but you bitch too much.
Right. So anyway, we're gonna end it on that.
that happy note for me.
Yes, Rodgers, you bitch too much.
Rodgers, you bitch too much. Hey, Aaron, you done messed up.
Yes.
Anyways.
All right, guys.
All right. Great show. A great show. Again, like we said, I'm gonna make Zeno do some work, post production. Check out my guest spot on the radio show here, and his guest spot on the radio show there. He's shaking his head. Man, why you gotta do that? Just put it in the description at least.
Yeah.
Down here in the description.
I'll put it there. Yeah. All right, guys. Like, share, subscribe, and tell your friends about the podcast. Share it with your friends wherever you listen. Apple, Google Podcasts, Pandora, Spotify, we're everywhere. Yeah. So yeah.
This is the draft show. Because it was a whole draft.
That's what it became, yeah. In between segments, we're doing draft picks.
All right.
All right, guys. That's a wrap.